Well, hey, everybody, welcome to this conversation. I basically put above our chat because we didn't speak about it, foundation, what did it change for you? And this is Liz Waters. Hi, Liz.
Hi, hi, hi.
Hi. And she's actually a part of a hosting team for the foundation that we are doing live in London in about a week.
Mhm.
But also, you've been in my world for quite some time, and so I'm
Yeah.
just excited to talk to you because I actually have never done that like this. So hi.
Hi.
So, just for fun, because we can go anywhere, but I'm like, you've been doing access consciousness for how long?
Since 2016, so right before I moved to the UK. Yeah.
Where are you originally from?
I'm from Chicago originally.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's a whole like episode of it on itself. Um, so your first foundation, do you remember it?
I do. I do. I actually went to Paris for the global in 2017 because like I did my first bars class in August of 2016. And then I did my second one in October and my third one in January. And I was like, I have to get to foundation class. I
Mhm.
had to get there. And I went with my husband. Actually, my husband had just done his bars class too. And we both were like, the global was coming up in Paris. And we were like, let's go. So we did. Packed up
And
the whole
so
family and went. Yeah.
what is like, so that's huge. You protect the whole family. So
Yeah.
what was your big aha from that? Like what changed for you?
Like for me, the access tools, man, it changed everything for me. Um, like I'm not even close to the same person. I mean, I'm more me,
Yeah.
but I'm like none of the problems that I had like 6 years ago, like are it's all totally irrelevant now. Um, and it just opened up a whole world to me. Like that was it just shook up everything that I had just taken for granted as true and just the way things worked. And actually just opened up a whole load of possibilities. And like it just put question into my world of like, okay, I could have anything or I could be anything. Like, what do I want to choose? So
Yeah. So did the way you were creating change? Like what changed for you? Like what who are you now? Tell me
yeah,
more.
well, like for me before, I mean, before access,
Yeah.
this would have terrified me, like sitting and talking to the world or talking to you even. I tell this to people all the time, like that come even to my bars classes, like that like even just facilitating a bars class like would have terrified me before. I used to really struggle with articulating myself. I used to struggle with like with talking to people and engaging with people, even though like I desperately like I really liked and wanted to be around people, but
Yeah.
I like just completely stayed away because I was so terrified. I had no idea what to do with them. I'm like, I like you, I want to hang out with you, but I have no idea like how to be with you because I had no idea how to be with me
Wow.
and how to be me like with people. And like that's been the greatest gift for me actually with access is like actually being able to be with people and being able to have that as a choice, like to actually be with people and engage with people. And
Yeah.
even until like a year ago, I still had the point of view that like I'm not good with people, like I don't know how to talk to people or engage with people. And even that like bit by bit like starting to break up all those points of views that I had about myself, um, so that I can actually see what's true
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting that you say that. I've been doing this for about 10 years now, and I think even just this year, I've gotten like so much information about what occurs for me when I get in front of other people or when I get into the presence of other people or social situations. I've actually been realizing um, more and more like how information comes into my world because I don't it doesn't seem like it, but I actually would have described myself as I don't know how I would have described myself. I think as a kid, I would have described myself as shy because I was very introverted, very musical, very smart, very all those things that were not the cool kid crowd. And then as I got older, I had to teach myself to be with people. So when I was 18, I got a waitressing job And I remember, well, I got a hostessing job. And then I realized as a hostess, you couldn't make any money. So I was like, okay, I have to be a waitress. To be a waitress, I had to talk to people. And it was terrifying because I found people incredibly terrifying. They were never very kind. You never actually knew what was going to happen. So people were just freaked me out. And so, but I couldn't make, I could make no money as a hostess. So there was this, there's always kind of been this pull in my world. If I want to make more money, I have to change.
Yeah.
So when I was 18, I got a job waiting tables at this breakfast place. And as I was getting trained and they were in front of me, like doing all the talking, I realized that eventually I was going to have to be the one doing the talking. So I literally had to work myself up to go talk to every single table that I had for almost a year. Like I had to like build it up and then go talk to them. And so I did. And so it got easier and easier and easier to like make that initial contact with people, but people scared me. And then like, okay, so whatever, however many years later, like over 30 years later, just this year, I have been really like pulling on like, how does awareness work for me? How does this work for me? Because I'm super X-Men. I know you've explored that as well, which just means that we have a level of awareness that's just like off the charts. And I didn't know how that worked. So I was started asking the universe this year. And what I recognized is like, I don't need to be in front of people to have awareness, but when I do get into the presence of people, the level of awareness is super, super intense. And it's like so much information that sometimes it's like having a boombox in my face, like blaring death metal. Like, and I'm the only one that can hear it, So I totally, totally, totally get it. And the thing that's made choosing that or choosing beyond that or being able to be me with all of that has been the tools for sure.
Yeah, it's so funny that you say that because I did the exact same thing. Like when I was 19, I was like, I'm gonna get a job waiting tables because I will have to like talk to people.
Yes.
and then I did that for like a long time. I really enjoyed that.
Uh-huh.
Kind of like a controlled, like I could walk away, like I had a.
Oh, you can walk away. You're controlling the conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Well, I'm really busy. I gotta go over here. And then after that, like I was a yoga teacher, or I am a yoga teacher actually still.
Okay,
but
cool.
like I started teaching yoga, and that was like incredibly uncomfortable. But I was so like I just was so passionate about it and like so wanted to do it.
Yeah.
That I made myself like just get in there and do it. And I actually used to go like in my classes, most of my students probably have no idea, but like I actually used to teach like half the time with my eyes closed in the back of the room because it was the only way that I could like stay connected to me. And like, because the awareness was like so overwhelming.
So much information.
Yeah. I had to like go in the back and like close my eyes so that I could like have a sense of me and my body. And like, then I could actually like speak during the class.
Yes.
I like spent half the class like with my eyes closed and like, yeah, it's so funny.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. But now like, it's so different. Like I can actually, and I think a big part of that is getting out of judgment of me. Like that was actually one of the first things that I realized coming to Access was, and that was actually the thing, like I had this big, huge, like I think it might have even been before I got my bars run. I just like listened to Dane, like talking about who does it belong to or whatever. And I actually like, I had this voice in my head for so long that was like, always like, what's wrong with you? Why can't you be like so-and-so? Why can't you do this?
Yes.
And it was so insidious that I didn't even know it was there. Like I had no idea. I thought I was just normal, like, because that's just what you do. And then I remember I was driving down the road like one day on my way to the yoga studio. And all of a sudden, like something happened, like a trigger that would have triggered that kind of response, or not even that right kind of response, but just there was like a chain of events that just like didn't like happen.
Yeah.
Of like that self-judgment or that self like comparing myself or whatever that was. And I was like, what just happened? Like something's missing, like something. And I realized like, holy crap, like I'm not doing the self-judgment thing or the comparison thing. And the same thing when I was talking to people, all of a sudden I was like, because I used to do, and this is so embarrassing, but I used to like, everybody who I would interact with, I would measure myself against them. Like,
yep.
oh, she talks really well, but I'm more flexible, like in the yoga class or whatever, and I can do yoga better. But she's prettier or thinner,
Yeah.
but I dress better, or like there was always like kind of like this like comparison thing, and like literally it just stopped. It just completely stopped, and I was like, I literally was like, didn't even know I was doing it until I wasn't. And I was like, what's going on? Like something's different here. And I was just able to be relaxed
Yeah.
and be with people in a totally different way.
Yeah, one of the things Gary says in the foundation manual is like, this class will change you. Like all kinds of things will just change, and of course, it's your choice whether or not they change. But, well, that, and then what I have found, like, so trying to explain foundation or any access class is like, well, what can I expect? I'm like, well, you'll come out and you'll be different. Like things will just melt out of your world. I went to you remember what it was, but what was included in what it was the abuse hold class. And I had been trying to change, like, I think I'd just been trying to get more access to my body. Like, people kept talking about, like, well, ask your body and listen to your body and perceive, what are you perceiving in your body? I'm like, nothing. I like couldn't perceive anything. And it did take me probably 9 days of body classes to get more access. But this particular class was about the abuse hold. It was like melting the effects of abuse out of your world. And my growing up I'd been all the abuses had occurred, like financial, emotional, sexual, physical. So there was just a lot. There was a lot. I had been handling a lot for a really, really long time. And so this class was, Gary would talk a little bit, facilitated a little bit, and then showed us the energy, and then we worked on each other. And there was a lot of buildup to this class. I was really excited about it. But then after the body process was run, I didn't really feel anything. I was like, that was nice. But I got home, and I remember this so distinctly because I was still working at a restaurant, and I would I worked 5-6 days a week. So it was very common for me. So every day I would drive up to the restaurant and get out, and I would have to walk through the kitchen to go up to my thing and then work, Every single time before this class that I had driven up and walked into the kitchen, I had this intense amount of anxiety in my world. And it was just intense. It was just normal. Well, after I went to this class, I drove to work, got out of the car, walked to the kitchen, and there was nothing there. Like, it was so gone that I noticed it. I was like, I feel good. Like, I felt peaceful. And it was like I had moved from being a solid oak door to being a screen door, and energies could actually just like move through. It was miraculous. And that's the thing I keep trying to communicate about any access class, whether it's foundation or talk to the entities or body classes. It's like, first of all, you're just going to know what you need next, and it's not going to make any sense. I was trying to change something about relationships, and I was changing something about relationships. I was in the process, and I was asking the universe, like, whatever it takes, I'm willing. And so what kept popping into my head was a 3-day body class. And I was like, this doesn't match. Like, I can understand relationships done different or, something logical, but 3-day body class, 3 days. I was like, okay, so this is another time. So I went, it was with Shannon. I'm on the table on day 2, and literally the thing that I had been unconsciously doing that was keeping relationships hard melted while I was on the table. I burst into tears. I got this massive download and epiphany, and the thing that I had been stuck on about relationships changed in like 20 minutes. And so that's like, man, I'm so grateful for you telling me what you did about, I guess, who you used to be and like who you actually are, which is now allowed to be in the world. And
yeah, it's so funny because people ask like, oh, what's different for you? And I'm kind of like,
kind of everything.
Yeah, and it's like I can't really. It's so hard to put words to sometimes, especially too. Like you go into a class, you come out of a class, and you're just different. And I've done the foundation now, I think maybe 10 times.
I think I've done 50.
I know, at least 10 times, and it's like every single time I'm just different on the other side. And I like a lot of times I can't even explain like what's different or how it's different. I'm like, it's just different. I'm just different.
How do you know when something is for you? Like, what is that for you now? When you're choosing things, like, do you choose based on logic or do you choose from something else?
No, it's totally from something else now. Yeah, sometimes I do like go into the logic of like, well, I should do this because this and this will give me this. But ultimately, like when I actually go to choose something, I always will look at the energy. And that's such a gift now. Because actually it's funny because like when I first was wanted to do foundation class after bars, I was like I had so much angst in my world because I had just moved to England, we just moved like our family from Thailand. We had like nothing. So like we were living in Thailand like for 5 years. We came from there to live in the UK and had like nothing. So I had like no money or anything. And I had all this angst in my world because I so wanted to get to foundation. And I actually got on a call. There was a foundation coming like near me, near Manchester. And the facilitator did like a free Zoom before, and I just brought it up. I'm like, you know what, I really want to get to this class and I have no money. And she's like, well, did you ask, what will your life be like in 5 years if you choose it? And what will your life be like in 5 years if you don't? And I was like, no, I did not ask that. I just was like, foundation is going to change my life and I have to be there. And so that night, like I was laying in bed with my son and he was like 4 or 5 at the time. And I asked, I asked what will my life be like in 5 years if I choose it? And it was so freaking heavy.
Oh,
And I was like, oh, like, I like, it's heavy to choose this class right now. Like, what the heck? Like, I was so shocked and I was so relieved though, because it like all the angst just like went out of my world. And I was like, oh my God, this choosing from energy thing, like, wow, like it's so, so different. Cause like I had no angst then about like not having the money for the class because the class wasn't even light. Like it wasn't even going to create for me like what I had decided that it should create. And then
right.
the class came along like later and it worked like not even that much longer. Like I had to wait until there was a class that like was shining super bright and I chose it. So yeah.
How would you, I don't even know if you can talk about this, but let's try just for fun. Like, how would you describe not like light and heavy for you, like following the energy of what something's going to create? What does that sensation show up as? Or how
It's
does it show up in your body? Yeah, I'm just
yeah,
curious.
like it's often different all the time.
Yeah.
Like it's I have no words because like sometimes it is a little bit of a body sensation for me, but it's almost like not outside my body, but it's beyond my body.
Yeah.
Like for me, like when I first started, I would get this feeling of like an elevator going up and down, like up and down, or I'd get like a window opening or a window closing or something. And I'm not like super visual even either. And now it's just like, oh man, it's just that sense of space
Yeah.
when I perceive the lightness, and then
Yeah.
that sense of contraction usually when it's heavy for me.
Yeah.
So
Because I know you said we originally created these classes in London with another friend of mine who just made a different choice, and you had said yes to creating with her, and then she made a different choice, and I came to you and I was like, "What is this for you?" It's like, is this fun? Is this creative? And you were like, "Yep." And that's one of the things that I admire about you a lot is you are really committed to looking at the energy of something, and that's I get what is creating your life in the way that it is. So thank you.
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And for those of you guys watching, I wanted to include that conversation because so many times with everything, it's so easy to go to logic, especially when what you need or require to choose something doesn't seem to be physically there, like the money or the time. Money and time seem to be the two things that we can use to kind of skip out on showing up for ourselves, because that's what it was for me. Like, me choosing so many things in my life has been me needing to be willing to really show up for me, and also follow where the flow is, like where the energy is showing me is the thing is available. So so that you always know when something's pulling you or has your attention, or when you ask is light, then the resources are there for you. That's the other thing that I think is interesting. It's like they show up when you show up.
Yeah.
So I think there's two facets to this actually. It's like really asking like what will your life be like in 5 years, and also like if you were truly willing to know and show up for you, like what would be available. Because that was more my story. I was like, I really had to be willing to choose it. It's like I knew it was pulling me, and I was ignoring it. And then when I chose it, everything that I needed was right there for me. I had a place to stay that was free. I could get there with ease. I had the money on I had the space on my credit card, right? Everything that I needed was like there for me if I was willing to choose it. So I had a little bit of a different story because this was like, ugh. Things usually have to like hit me over the head with a 2x4 before I'm willing to choose them, apparently. So that was more my thing. But yeah, so whatever it is for you, but like I know for me that, access classes have been like the thing that I needed that I couldn't find anywhere else to open doors for me that I couldn't get to on my own. And I've been such an immense gift.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So if you guys would like to join us online or live, you are more than invited. You can go to accessconsciousness.com/Crystal Crawford to register for the next foundation, which is happening next week. I will be live in London. I'm getting on an airplane on Tuesday. I haven't flown this far in almost 3 years. So, yay. Yeah, I'll be hugging Liz and running her bars. And if you'd like to come run bars with us and change and be different, you are more than welcome to come with us. We start on Friday. And also, it's online. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. I appreciate it so much. And thank you guys for watching. And if you enjoyed this, good. And hopefully we'll get to see you somewhere around the world. Bye for now.
Bye.